All right, let's do it. All right, welcome to yet another episode of Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary and Bennett Tatton. This is episode number 11.
Initially, there were mixed reports of his capture. Like, how did he get captured?
Oh, right.
And he got captured on patrol, or he was drunk out in town, or, you know what I mean? Like, seriously, drunk out in town?
Welcome to Change Your POV podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Thanks for tuning in today. Today's topic, this is another engagement, our weekly engagements. We're going to be talking about, yes, Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. And I can hear the crowd out there just hush. And like everybody's scrambling to turn their speakers up right now, right?
Right.
So we're going to talk about Bo Bergdahl, and we're going to kick this thing around from all different angles and try to not really shed any light on it, because I think we've got plenty of light. We're just going to kind of kick some things around and make you a little bit more aware of different things and see things from different perspectives that you didn't probably see previously. So what's your initial take there, Bennett?
Well, I mean, I read an article today about his arraignment at, where's he at, Bragg?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Today. Because I like how they say at an army base in North Carolina. Since there's so fucking many of them there. And he entered no plea or arraignment. And it's like, all right. So it was like, wah, 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 kind of, like the anticlimactic thing is start to this whole trial or court martial. But it's still like, I've swung in and out of it paying attention to this because it's like the farther I dig into it, the more pissed off I get. Yeah. And it's just like the fact that we, exchanged 5 jihadis, not even just like, case of mistaken identity, these are moderate Muslim, whatever. No, these dudes are, jihadis.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were legit, and we knew they were legit. Yeah.
And yet this prisoner exchange, 5 of them for basically a deserter. Mm-hmm. From what I am really gathering, and at least that's the way that the investigation shows, because it sure as hell took them long enough to figure out what they were going to charge him with.
Right.
So it's like what juice from up on the hill is helping this guy out that it's taking this freaking long?
Well, okay, so first, this dude, they're still calling him Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. Now, when he walked off his fob, was he a specialist? Right?
I think so. I think he was a specialist.
I'm trying to figure out, I mean, every time I hear in the news or on the radio them refer to this joker as Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, I take great offense to that. I was a sergeant, a non-commissioned officer. I'm trying to figure out, what promotion board he went to, or, did he go to PLDC like while he was in jail, or like, I don't understand exactly how he was able to obtain this rank other than what he was detained for 5 years. So I'm assuming he just got an automatic promotion. Is that how we do things these days?
Unless he went to Taliban PLDC or something.
Taliban PLDC.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jihad PD.
Right.
Yeah, got
exactly.
it.
I don't.
And why is he still a sergeant? Maybe, I guess, because they have to wait for his court martial.
All that I know. Well, again, did he make points? Did he go to the board after he came back?
I doubt it.
You know what I'm
He was
saying?
in jail.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are going to sit on his promotion board and be like...
Here's the other thing, though. So if that's the case, what's the only way that he's going to get promoted? It's a meritorious promotion, right?
Yeah, right.
So who did that?
I don't know.
What general, what flag officer, because that's where it's got to come from, did that?
Right. I don't know.
Can we release those records?
It blows my mind how much craziness surrounds this case.
Yeah, it's just, no, at the end of the day, it just doesn't make sense. All I can think of is the show Homeland.
Yeah.
Like that's what they tried to do. Right. Like somebody tried to make, and I'm not really a conspiracy guy. I used to be pretty bad, really bad. Like I drank the fucking Kool-Aid hard. Like I was mainlining that shit, with the conspiracy stuff. But at the end of the day, I just realized it doesn't matter if it is or not. It doesn't, nothing I can do to affect the change. You know what I mean? Unless I want to become really fucking militant, and I'm just not going to do that. So, you know what I mean? So it's like at the end of the day, is that what someone was trying to do? Is literally like infiltrate this guy, make him a freaking hero, because frankly, that's what it seems like happened. But then it fell apart because people were like, "Oh fuck no, hell no."
Well, but let me ask you this. So, as President Obama was agreeing to hand over these 5 jihadists in lieu of Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, you mean to tell me that the president and the rest of Bo's chain of command didn't know or weren't already aware of him basically walking off the post? I mean, he was detained for 5 years. I would think that someone in his immediate chain of command on that fob would have reported that up the chain of command.
Well, what's crazy is that there was mixed initially there were mixed reports of his capture. Like, how did he get captured?
Oh, right.
And like he got captured on patrol, or he was drunk out in town, or you know what I mean? Like, seriously, drunk out in town? And then they decided to nab him.
But everybody on that fob, including the guys that he served with, knew that he walked off on his own fruition because he was upset or disgruntled in some way. Like, there was no question in those guys' mind in 2009 when he walked off that fob that he left as a deserter. Yeah, there was no question in any of those guys' mind.
Still, it took till 2010 to figure this out, that officially that he walked away from his unit.
Okay, but so at the time that they did the trade, right, then everybody knew the truth by that point. Yeah. So why are you giving up? I mean, I can understand, you know what? I mean, I can understand trying to get one of your own back. And do I agree with negotiating with terrorists and doing? I don't. I think that once you start down that path, it's a slippery slope, and next thing you know, everybody thinks that America can be swayed if the price is right or whatever. Mm-hmm. But but at the time that this deal was made, everybody that was anybody knew
for 4 years.
For 4 years knew that this dude was a traitor. Why in the hell are you going to give up?
And I guess we can't really say that he was a traitor per se.
Right.
He's at the very least, he's a deserter.
Okay.
All right. So to give him
fair enough.
To give him the kind of the benefit of the doubt, I mean, they had emails from him to his family and some stuff like that, blah blah blah, showing that he was really disgruntled and whatnot. But at the very end of the day, yeah, he's at the very least he's a deserter.
Right. At the very least. Right. Well, I mean, not even yet, right? Because he's on trial for that. Because right now, part of this hearing, according to what I'm reading in the Associated Press, it's to determine desertion versus AWOL, or absent without leave.
Right.
That, I mean, and depending on how that comes out, then there's different charges that he could end up receiving. I mean, he could walk away with an honorable general, or other than honorable discharge, right? And if he's for whatever reason, deemed a lower or a lesser penalty, or depending on what his charges are, they said in this report, it says the decision can determine whether he gets as much as $300,000 in back pay and other benefits, including continued health care. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in as a sergeant in E5 in the Army, I didn't make $300,000 in 5 years. Did you?
I don't think so. I mean, Jesus, I
try to figure out how $300,000 in back pay is even possible for the amount of time that he's been gone.
Yeah.
And that's assuming he was an E5 from the second he went walked off that fob. He got promoted.
I wouldn't say it should be $300,000. Now, did they say pay and benefits? Is that what they said?
It says Bergdahl could receive an honorable, general, or other than honorable discharge. That decision can determine whether he gets as much as $300,000 in back pay and other benefits, including continued health care. That's a little slap in the face, isn't it?
That's kind of like the guy that breaks into your house, breaks his leg, and then sues you and gets
you. Yeah.
Like, seriously?
Right.
That the justice system in that's a failure.
Yeah.
Epic failure.
So for those of you that may not know, the maximum punishment for desertion during a wartime is death. That's the maximum punishment. The outcome is highly unlikely in Bergdahl's case, however. And for those of you that are curious, only one service member, Private Eddie Slovic, was executed for desertion since the Civil War. Slovic was 24 years old, and he was shot to death by a firing squad in January of 1945. And a little tidbit, his execution was approved by the then General Dwight D. Eisenhower. That's presidents made of different stuff back then.
Right, yeah. You think?
Yeah,
Supreme Allied Commander.
Yeah. Yeah, he blessed that one off. Yep.
Oh, wow.
But
holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, granted, the Army kept that secret for 9 years before it actually became known. But hey, it happens. So let me ask you this: is Bo Bergdahl? I mean, he seems to be the only one in the news, so I'm assuming he's the only guy in the war on terror that's deserted. Yeah.
Probably not.
No,
I'm sure not.
No, I looked this up, and would you believe it if I told you that according to the Washington Associated Press, in an article that I read today, dated December 26, 2014, so it wasn't this year, it was last year, but still, the Army has prosecuted about 1,900 cases of desertion since 2001.
Damn.
Despite tens of thousands, let me say that again, tens of thousands of soldiers fleeing the service in the face of deadly combat, long and multiple deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, and strains on military families. Right? So 1,900 cases of desertion and tens of thousands of other soldiers fleeing. So this isn't a unique instance. This isn't a special case. Bergdahl is not the only guy that served in the military in recent years that has deserted. He's not even the only one that's ever walked off a fob in Afghanistan or Iraq. It's just, this is one of the ones that are just the most notable because of the huge sacrifice that was paid in that trade for those detainees.
Right. I wonder if there's any guys that walked off that are fighting for ISIS now. Oh,
I mean, but if we dig in a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I bet we could find some.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean,
I know a guy. I don't know. I know him, but I didn't. And I did serve with him, but he was a younger guy when I was in. Mm-hmm. And this is in the Army. And I know that after his third deployment, he finally went. He actually he went to Canada. He was enough. after he was going to go to he was going to get deployed to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
For the second time, had been to Iraq twice.
Wow.
And this was going to be his fourth deployment. He was like, "No, I'm done," and he fled to Canada. Yeah, as far as I know, he's still there.
Wow. Well, when I got my unit got our deployment orders, initially there was a lot of guys that kind of took off. Some guys were claiming homosexuality because at the time that was
right.
You could separate from the military. It was that whole Clinton's don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yeah, right.
Was still in effect at the time. And anyway, two guys in my platoon took off, were AWOL for weeks. I think it was like a 4-day weekend or something. They split and they never came back. And we found out where they were at. We had an idea where they were. We were at Fort Hood at the time, and they were a couple states over from Texas. I can't remember which state it was, but anyway, we got a hold of the hometown sheriff. Basically, told him the situation, said that these two guys were probably there. We gave them an address of where they could probably be located. And we got a call back from the sheriff department like a couple days later and said, "Yep, we've got them. What do you want us to do with them?" And we're like, "Oh, is there any way you can just hold them? We'll be down to get them."
Right.
And they're like, "Okay." So they didn't arrest them. They just detained them, I guess, for the lack of a better word. They held them for us. My platoon leader and I went and got approval through the chain of command. We signed out a military vehicle. We stopped by the MP station, grabbed a couple of pairs of handcuffs and some ankle shackles, and we hopped in the car with a map and we drove 2 days basically to get there. Stayed in the hotel overnight. Drove there. Went straight to the police station, picked them up. Read them their Miranda rights, shackled them up, put them in the back of the car, and drove their happy asses back to Fort Hood. I mean,
lovely.
And and charged them accordingly. You know what I mean? But not that's a probably unique story. I'm sure that doesn't happen everywhere, but it just goes to show you that Bergdahl's not special.
No. Well, what's special is that he deserted in country. And then was exchanged for 5 dudes that, I mean, I'm sitting here reading, the bios on these guys. And this one guy, it's Nurullah Nori. This dude was the governor of a province under the Taliban, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And him and this other guy, Mohammed Fazi, are both wanted by the United Nations for war crimes.
But we let them go.
But we gave them back. Like, what do you think these guys are doing now? Sipping tea at some bazaar somewhere?
They were rehabilitated. They're selling freaking, one of them works at a sheep stand, and works at a watermelon stand, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure they just sip tea every afternoon and smoke a hookah.
Suck on their hookah.
I mean, what the hell? Seriously? Yeah. No, they're not going to go back to what they were doing in the past. Not at all.
Oh, right.
Seriously, right. Come on, man. I mean, so what is the international community? Man, I'm not the biggest fan of the UN, but at the end of the day, these guys are both wanted by the UN. Do you think the UN went to President Obama like, what? Wait, whoa, wait.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I mean, because you're talking about they're wanted for possible war crimes, including the murder of thousands.
Yeah.
Not just like, a village.
Right.
Thousands of Shiites.
Was Bergdahl worth the trade? Just so we could slap him with a dishonorable discharge and throw him in Leavenworth for 5 years or something?
Jesus.
I just don't think that trade was. I feel bad for his parents and his family, and they still love him. I get that, So I'm glad glad that he's back, and I'm sure they're okay with that trade. I mean, if it were my son, I would be okay with that trade because it's my son.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on.
It.
All I know is I know a lot of people back in Idaho that were really rooting for this guy. I know I've got family members and other folks that I know back in that area that were definitely rooting for this guy and doing everything they could. The POW MIA and team were just,
probably felt like it was a serious slap in the face.
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to some of them, and yeah, I mean, it's just like
Bob Bergdahl told the Guardian that his son was a compassionate person who wanted to see the military as a kind of Peace Corps with guns.
A Peace Corps with guns.
It was reminiscent of the Monty Python sketch in which a soldier, on trial for having enlisted but refusing to fight with the usual means, expresses his scorn for any military solution and the futility of modern warfare. But both journals obtained by the Washington Post show him to have been a deeply anguished young man. Friends thought it was a mistake for him to join the Army, and at this point I do too. He only informed his parents of his intentions to enlist after he had done it. A year later, he was a captive. Yeah, so the dude got taken captive. He had only been in a year.
Yeah, so I don't even know if he was an E4 then at the time. I mean, unless he had some college under his belt before he joined, right? I don't. How else are you going to make
recruiter's assistants or
Yeah, maybe. But okay, so let me ask you this then, right? If this guy was like disturbed before he even joined, and friends and family members are like, red flags all over the place, like,
well, now, how did say he had already been discharged from the Coast Guard after 26 days for psychological reasons and receiving an uncharacterized discharge. That was in 2006. So he was in basic training at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy here and not too far from me, Cape May, New Jersey, which is beautiful, by the way. But anyway, he was discharged after only 26 days for psychological reasons. So the Army, I guess, and so being so hard up for guys at the time in 2008, was like, yep, okay, let's do this.
So he bombs out of the Coast Guard after 26 days for a psychological reason.
Correct. And then 2 years later, enlists in the Army and enlists in the Army as an infantryman.
So isn't there some checks and balances when you go to the recruiter and you're filling out all the paperwork? Isn't there like have you ever been employed by the government before? And if so, where and how? And how long did you serve and why did you leave? And I mean, didn't they have those questions? I'm sure they did.
Not in 2008 because they wanted people bad.
Well, this bad?
I guess.
I mean, really?
I guess.
You want to be fighting? Do you want to be fighting next to this guy in a foxhole?
No.
Bullets start flying down range? No, hell no. I wouldn't.
And then they based him in Alaska. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
More than 20,000 soldiers have been dropped from the rolls as deserters since 2006.
Dude,
Army data shows.
That's something that they don't talk about
They don't talk. Absolutely don't talk about.
No, that's not talked about at all.
Nope. But you know what? How many of those guys ended up entering the military or the Army under suspicious type of backgrounds like this guy, right? I'm sure all 20,000 of those soldiers that were dropped from the rolls as deserters didn't have peachy backgrounds either. So what type of standards are we using then to I mean, I was told when I was in that less than 1% of the U.S. population even qualify to join the military. Let alone, not saying that they do, but less than 1% even qualify and meet the minimum requirements to join.
Well, see, what's sad now is that you've got all these guys now they're drawing down and they're kicking dudes out, especially the Marine Corps, kicking dudes out because they have tattoos. Like war-hardened NCOs, like guys that are the leaders of men, not the dirtbag dude that's like, I mean, most of those guys get weeded out after one or two enlistments anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
and usually one enlistment. But then because the dude's got full sleeves and like a tattoo or two on his neck, all of a sudden, we're not going to let you re-enlist. But
so they're using that as a way to downsize.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Because they relaxed the. The army's hammering down on tattoos as well.
Yeah, but you shouldn't make that a reason why. I mean, you should round up the people that are 15 years and are still specialists, right?
Yeah.
If you're a specialist and you got sorry folks, if you're a specialist out there and you've been in the Army for 15 years, you're not doing something right. Period.
Right.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah, no, I mean that was that's how it was even back when I was getting out. I was able to re-enlist that one more time. I mean, I would have been a sergeant within, I got out as a corporal. Because I had battled with weight for the first 4 years that I was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my shit together when we deployed to Egypt. And came back, went to PLDC. I was an honor graduate of my PLDC class, yada, yada, yada. And then turned around and decided I want to get my shit together finally, right? And then I decided I want to get the fuck out.
What'd you get?
Man, it's crazy.
You're like, all right, I'm squared away.
Squared away, time to bounce. Because literally I had, and I've looked at this 2020 for years now. Because, hindsight's always 2020. And it's just the mess that I was in from my divorce and everything. It's every reason I went back in the military, was just to regroup.
Right.
And, I was a freaking fat body. I mean, I could still pass PT and do that. And, I was a good field soldier, but I couldn't, you know how that works. People that can't pass the tape on and off one day, one time I do it, the next time I wouldn't. It was just a mess. But I was a mess psychologically. Now that I look back, I was a freaking disaster, And, didn't know it. Nobody saw it. Drank like a freaking, nutcase. And then it took me a good deployment to get my shit squared away.
Yep.
But, whatever. Neither here nor there at this point. All I can say is that when I got out, at least I was an NCO.
Right. Yeah, hard striper.
Thank God, finally. Jesus Christ. And the fact is when people hear that I was honor graduate in my PLDC class, they're like, what? You? Or like everyone at my command was like, no fucking way.
Really?
Because we had other guys that were that went to PLDC with me that were just like the shit hot, dudes, according to the unit. Like these are the guys that are like, the shit. You realize I went to PLDC and all those all the tests, all the testing that you have to do, like what is it, like fucking 8-10 tests a day we're taking.
Oh yeah.
You realize I missed not one question.
Really?
Not one. 100% on testing.
Are you just like a freaking savant or what?
I just remember knowledge like that. And then I did the land nav course, which was a complete joke regardless. And I'm pretty sure everyone that's infantry will agree that the land nav course was a joke.
Yeah.
But I did our land nav course in 23 minutes. 23 minutes. I ran it.
Really?
And I betted one of our instructors. I'm like, yep, I bet you a case that I'll break whatever records you guys have. I'll smash it. I did it in 23 minutes and got a case of Yingling.
Nice.
But those are my glory days. Those are little glory stories. And then I decided to get out like 5 months later.
Yeah. The only story from my PLDC field exercise that I remember, back then I was a smoker and I never could understand it. We were out in the middle of the woods and we had to put up some engineered tape around like 3 trees and call it the designated smoking area.
Right.
The designated smoking area in the middle of the woods. It was pouring ass rain for like a week. And we're wearing the full, it's so muddy and wet out there that we're wearing wet weather top, our wet weather pants, and our galoshes, our boots, or overshoes. And it's my turn to do fire watch. Now, not only am I doing fire watch in the middle of a monsoon, but I've got to go to the designated smoking area just in case I don't catch something on fire. I'm assuming, I don't know, and I had to take a leak, so I'm not gonna go, to the designated piss area if there ever was one.
Right.
So I'm in the smoke break area, and I do my thing, and that distinct sound that every male just knows when your urine hits the wet ground.
Oh yeah, man.
I didn't hear that, and turns out I actually pissed on the inside of my wet weather pants all down my leg.
Oh, dude, you're the man.
Yeah, and it was like the first night of our field training exercise.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I lived in my own urinated pants and shit for like 4 days. It was awesome. Yeah, so that was my award that I got for my PLDC.
The Pisser Award.
Pisser Award, yeah.
Yeah, I got like an A. I'm out of it. All kinds of coins. I mean, it's pretty cool. I got a book signed by the sergeant major at PLDC, and I got a cool little plaque, Corporal Benner Tanton, honor graduate, whatever, So it's pretty cool. It was cool, but
I wonder how many PLDC stories Bergdahl had.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Hardly. He's got to be zero, unless he was kicking it with the Taliban guys doing their Haji fucking, running around, whatever the fuck they do, sideways AK firing shit, whatever asinine push-ups. Let's do push-ups and then shoot and whatever.
Yeah.
I love watching their little drills. This shit's hysterical.
Oh yeah, with their the little logs they jump over and stuff.
Oh man. Well, I'm sitting here reading this, though, as a former senior military officer briefed on the investigation into Bergdahl's disappearance said that on the night he went missing, Bergdahl left a note in his tent that said he was leaving to start a new life. It was reported that the letter said that Bergdahl wanted to renounce his citizenship. According to Senator Saxby Chambliss, the White House said there was no note during a meeting with Congress on the release of Bergdahl. I wonder how much truth there is to that.
So there's like this mysterious note that might or might not have been written.
Can neither be confirmed nor denied.
Yeah, there's just a lot. Okay, so let's ask him. All right, so this dude was definitely not a sergeant when he walked off the base, right? He wasn't.
No,
I don't know what he was.
No. Well, after a year, he's one of two things. He's probably a PFC.
I'm thinking a PFC. So this dude, right? Let's come on now.
Unless you're, a pretty tight-laced dude, you're not getting specialists in a year.
No.
Unless you're just like shit hot.
Right. No. I don't even think time and grade and a waiver and all that.
And all that will get
set you up for that. No.
For that.
So all right. So let's put our Army hats on for a second. And so this dude, for all intents and purposes, is a private in combat, right? He's a private in combat, and he walks the hell off the fob. Now, I was in Iraq. I was a staff sergeant, non-commissioned officer. I was responsible for. I was a senior squad leader, so I had 9 guys right under me. I was responsible for all of them. I was responsible for E5s. I was responsible for E4s. I was responsible for specialists. I was responsible. Well, we didn't have any E2s. I think we had PFCs and above. But as a non-commissioned officer, senior squad leader, my platoon, I was responsible for the lives, the well-being, and the accountability of my 9 men. How in the hell does a private walk off a fob? And where's this chain of command in all this? Where's the NCO that's responsible for this dude? Where's he, is he being brought up on charges? I mean, I don't know about you. Maybe things have changed or became lax after I left the Army, but anytime my soldiers did something, my ass was towing the line too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, granted, it works both ways. When my guys did something good, I was right there with it, right? So my success and my failure as a non-commissioned officer was preceded by my guys, whether or not they did good or did bad. I mean, that was the reality of it. And I just can't, for the life of me, figure out where the hell this dude's NCO, platoon sergeant, platoon leader, where are they in all of this? Are they just innocent? They just the Army says, oh, you guys have no no liability in this whatsoever. It's okay that this private was able to do this, and nobody in the chain of command's getting questioned or being held accountable for anything.
It's nuts, dude. I mean, I'm sitting here really just like digging into this now. I didn't really have as much time earlier, but I just cannot believe like what kind of juice did somebody pull? Because these 5 guys, man, I mean, listen to this. These 5 guys, all right, one of them was the Taliban Army Chief of Staff. Another one was a Taliban Deputy Minister of Intelligence, a former Taliban Interior Minister, and 2 other senior Taliban figures. For all intents and purposes, a PFC that deserted.
Right.
Now, here's the other thing. At this point, is the Taliban really considered a governmental entity at this point? Or are they terrorists? I can tell you that most guys deployed looked at them as terrorists in Afghanistan. Now, whatever happened to we don't negotiate with terrorists?
Right.
I mean, so there's a lot of stuff on here and out there that really says that the whole deal is illegal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But why did it even? I don't understand why it even happened.
No, these 5 guys, Bennett. These 5 guys were not the dudes that you see in pictures on the news. The dudes that are in the back of a little Toyota pickup squeezing off
these are the guys that are directing the juice.
Right.
They're not, I mean, we're talking planners. Like they're command and control guys.
Command and control. We're talking probably equivalent to what?
Well, like I just
generals,
said,
4-star generals, and
one of them was the freaking suits. Army Chief of Staff. He's a 4-star general.
Army Chief of Staff.
Deputy Minister of Intelligence. I mean, right? You can look at it whatever you want and look at it as they're backward folk. But at the end of the day, if you want to look at it tit for tat, that's what it was. That was General Shinseki. That guy.
Yes.
Right there is
Bergdahl wasn't worth one of these guys, let alone 5 of them. 5. Like, how does that make any sense at all?
Like, who got paid off? Because the release was brokered by American. I hate this, the way this Qatar, Qatar, however the hell you want to say it, and Afghan governments with the Taliban. You know what I mean? Like, who got paid? Like, what oil deal got made over that?
Exactly right. There's definitely something to this.
It's like the whole. It's like the whole thing. It's like when you go. I love it when you hear the argument on why did we invade Iraq, and it was always they have weapons of mass destruction, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, of course they had weapons of mass destruction. Like, they come back and they're like, well, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. Well, no. Wait. We know they have weapons of mass destruction because we have the fucking receipts for them because we sold them to them.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Right.
So yes, we know they have them because we sold them to them.
Yeah.
This kind of goes along with that. Like, what backdoor kind of deal is going down here? Like that, like there's got to be more to this. I mean, they sent a Delta Force team in to retrieve this guy from the 18 Taliban fighters. I mean, really? Recovered by Delta Force and Special Mission Unit component from the Joint Special Operations Command. Really? These are the guys that you send in? Like, we couldn't have just done, 10th Mountain guys, drive them up to the Taliban? No. So there's a lot of effort going into this that I just don't get. Because, again, he's a deserter already. They've already made this determination as of 2010.
They didn't figure it out after they got him back.
So after 4 years of this guy being in captivity, now he's been gone 5, but for the first year, things were kind of in the air. But then in 2010, the investigation shows, he walked off his post. So 4 years now, we know this guy's a deserter.
Yep.
Now, yes, he's being held in captivity, but really, it's flabbergasting to me. It's just like another. I don't like to get into the whole political arena of Obama and bashing one political party, because I think they both suck, frankly, and I'll put that out there. I'm not a fan of the two-party system. I just hearken back to Washington's speech, his farewell speech against his warnings against the two-party system,
Yeah.
And go, well, dude, this guy back in the 1700s knew what the hell he was talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's some dirtiness going on here. Something. I don't know where, I don't know what, and I don't know where, but there's some serious failures and miscalculations, and wow. I mean, dude, guys died looking for this guy.
Yeah.
6. I think it was 6. I don't know where I read that, but I think it was 6 guys in the search efforts.
And I'm sure they're they knew they were out there. They probably knew that he was a deserter when they were out looking for him. I mean,
these are 6 guys from his own battalion.
Yeah, I have full confidence that these guys were well aware of what Bergdahl did, the day after he walked off. I mean, when everybody had woke up the next morning and called muster or whatever they do over there and realized, oh, wait a minute, we're missing somebody. I guarantee you they weren't surprised to see his rack empty. You know what I mean? Or at least when they did see it empty, they weren't like, oh my God, the Taliban broke into our fob in the middle of the night and kidnapped this one guy.
And then there's a lot of evidence that the Pentagon started covering shit up due to resources being diverted to find Bergdahl. The closing of Combat Outpost Keating was delayed, which may have led to 8 American soldiers being killed on October 3rd, 2009, after 300 Taliban insurgents overran the base. A former senior military officer disputed that the diversion of resources led to the attack, noting that COP Keating was in a dangerous region of Afghanistan in the middle of the fighting season, and that it is difficult to establish a direct cause and effect. According to the New York Times, the review of the database of casualties of the Afghan war suggests that, again, they call him Sergeant Bergdahl's critics appear to be blaming him for every American soldier killed in blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, if you're diverting forces from one post to this search party stuff, I mean, Jesus. Every man, especially in one of those combat outposts, you need every dude, every hand on deck.
Yeah.
I mean, 300 Taliban insurgents against what? What do you usually have there? A platoon,
Oh, yeah, it depends on the size of the fob.
It's not a fob. It was a combat outpost.
Oh, outpost. Yeah, maybe a platoon at best. Yeah. With limited ammo and resources and resupply and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you know what? This was a good talk, Bennett. I know it was. It's been kicked around in the news a lot, and I think it's just important. We're not here to try to.
They're still not talking about the dirty secrets, or they're still not asking the hard questions.
Right.
Because
and I just think
because now, how many years is it now been since they actually got him back?
What, like 2010, right? They got him back or something?
What was on May? Bergdahl was handed over by 18. So I guess, God, it seems like it was so much longer ago than a year and a half. I guess it was May 31st, 2014.
Okay.
So what, a year and a half ago-ish?
Yep. Yeah, about that. Yeah.
God, it seems like it was so much longer ago.
Yeah, it does.
Oh man. Yeah.
But it's important. I think it's important that people, instead of just looking at what's being reported on the news, mainstream media, dig into it a little bit and try to, peel back the onion for yourself, because there's a hell of a lot to this that's not being reported, that's not being talked about. And it's important for people to know that Bergdahl's not the only dude that's deserted, their brothers and sisters in arms.
What are they saying? 20,000?
20,000 since 2006.
What the hell is the charge? Misbehavior before the enemy by endangering the safety of a command unit or place.
Seriously? Yeah, that's what he's being charged with. That hasn't been used since World War II.
Desertion with intent to shirk important and hazardous duty. Here's the kicker, though, dude. This court martial referred this case to a 4-star general.
Mm-hmm.
For a possible court martial.
And who was that general?
I don't know. It doesn't say. But the thing is when was the last time you ever saw a court martial go up to a 4-star? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, never.
And there's a major general in charge of the investigation. And there's a 2-star in charge of the investigation.
My God. What? This is a high publicity thing,
absolutely, and I understand that. But once again, if you look at it in scale, it doesn't know any of this from the get-go. It didn't. It doesn't know. It doesn't. It shouldn't have been 5 guys for this guy.
Did they think that maybe Bergdahl had some useful intelligence after 5 years in captivity that we would be able to use as intelligence that we wouldn't otherwise have? Was that what made getting him back so damn important?
I don't know. I mean, for God's sakes, though, none of it makes sense. So I guess that's where we have to leave it.
Yep.
Is America, do your own research and watch this trial and follow it, because I mean, I've got 10 years of military experience. Eddie's got about the same.
Yeah.
And neither of us can make sense of any of it.
No. Yep.
At the end of the day.
Yep. We're not generals at the highest levels of the military.
Not at all. But we have,
you don't have to be rocket science. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a 4-star general to look at this and say, there's definitely something not quite
considering
right.
There's 19,999 other guys that have deserted that I haven't heard about once.
Nope. Nobody. I don't know any of them that are being...
news, at least. I've heard about guys from friends of mine about, man, did you hear this dude just took off to Canada? Or, hey, man, I've got another guy that took off to Venezuela or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
Never, again, 19,999 other guys I never heard about, but this guy gets exchanged for 5 senior Taliban commanders.
Yep.
And
asinine.
And now his general court martial is being overseen by at least a flag officer, which is ridiculous.
Yep.
Seriously? The investigation was conducted by a major general. Do you guys understand that that's a division commander billet?
Yep.
This guy is in charge of roughly, if he's a division commander, it's like 25,000 guys.
Yeah. 17,000, 18,000 troops. Easy, right? Yep.
And all of a sudden now he's conducting the investigation for this clown. This PFC doesn't make sense to me. Who's now being called a sergeant, which is just a slap in the face to all sergeants of every freaking unit ever in the history of military units.
Yep, I agree.
So there you have it, America.
Well, thanks for your input and some feedback, and just a chance to talk with you again. And again, this isn't an educational piece. This is just something to get your brain thinking a little bit.
Right.
Don't take things at face value. You see something, you hear something, go and do some research, look it up, ask the questions: why, how, when. You know what I mean? I mean, this wasn't. I didn't want this to necessarily turn into a bash Bo Bergdahl conversation, because it really wasn't about bashing him. It was about trying to figure out why in the hell did all this go down? Why is it still going down the way that it is? And you know what? It'll be a sad day that this country will face if and when one of those 5 ends up doing something, or being in charge of something, or leading some initiative.
If I'm not mistaken, I feel like I've heard that one of them already was, and I don't remember.
Think so.
I don't remember. Of course, I'll do more research. So
yeah. Well,
plus, we really like to hear ourselves talk. So
absolutely.
Thanks for listening to us, guys.
So a couple of things. You can check out an article that I have featured in an awesome magazine, American Veterans Magazine. Pick that up. It's in January's edition. You can read an article that I submitted there. Hopefully I'll get an opportunity to publish some more articles in American Veterans Magazine. That'd be awesome.
Which article is that?
I have my own title that I submitted it as, but I don't know what the editors may have changed it to.
What is it? Is it the one about PTSD?
It is, yeah.
So am I.
Oh, you're in it too?
I am.
All right. Well, hey.
How funny is that? Small world, America.
So Bennett and I, because they said they were only taking 2 submissions, so it looks like you and I are it.
I guess so.
So look out for Bennett and I are both featured in the January edition of American Veterans Magazine. That'd be good. That'd be awesome. Grab that.
We were probably the only 2 submissions, but
I'm sure there's more.
At the end of the day, that's how it rolls.
But hey, it's cool, right?
Oh God!
And the fact that we're featured together, that's even better.
It's just really funny, actually.
It is. And did you submit a picture?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
So you'll get to see Bennett and myself in that magazine. Awesome.
Sparkling, beautiful faces. The best the best looking guys on radio.
That's right. That's right. So I also, since it's the end of the year, I also wanted to do something. I remember when I was in the Army, one thing that I hated the most was getting the new pay chart or pay schedule, because it's ugly. It was clanky. You had to go and download it. It wasn't easy to print. And then when I did print it, the format wasn't very cool. So what I did for you folks that are still in is I created the 2016 pay schedule for enlisted, officer, and warrant officer. I did not include in the special drill pay or any officers that have former enlisted or warrant officer experience. You can pick that up for free. Just head on over to the show notes for this episode at changeyourpov.com/episode 11. There'll be a spot in there where you just you submit your email, and I will immediately email you back the downloadable PDF versions of those. You can print them out and laminate them if you want, or you could just fold them up, stick them in your wallet, or put them on your refrigerator. My wife always wanted that on the refrigerator. And do yourself a favor, print it out, highlight where you are right now, and then highlight what your goal is going to be for the end of 2016. That's makes an awesome goal to reach for the 2016 year. So with that said, thanks very much for tuning in. You can find, again, all the show notes and that free download at changeyourpov.com/episode 11. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. Until next time, Bennett, thank you, sir.
Eddie Lazary adding value to the world.
I'm trying like hell.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was. Holy shit. It really chaps my ass, dude. I don't get it. This whole thing.
I know. The more I read,
the more I read, the more pissed off I get.
Yep. Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Literally just... is this guy the Manchurian candidate or what? I don't get it because seriously, I don't understand.